Hello YouTube, this is DVD Review Studios here, and today I shall be doing my Blu-ray and DVD update for February 2021. Just before we do delve into the update video, a quick detour. We have an anniversary coming up on the channel. In March it'll be officially 10 years since I began actually posting videos to YouTube on this channel, and so with that in mind, I do plan on making a 10-year kind of anniversary video, maybe just going over the story of the channel, seeing how we've kind of progressed over the years. And a part of that will be a Q&A, or at least maybe like a frequently asked questions kind of thing on the channel as well. So if you have any questions for me or about the channel, etc., then drop them in the comments down below, and I will feature the ones that I cater to. So anyway, without further ado, let us begin. First up, we have just the one Blu-ray this time, and that is the complete series of the Adult Swim / Cartoon Network series Samurai Jack. This is a series that I've wanted to get into for quite a while. It's a phenomenal 2D animation by good old Genndy Tartakovsky, and this is the complete series, which is surprisingly very compact. It's 5 seasons overall, the original run of 4 seasons, and then the revival 5th season from 2017, I believe. And this contains all 62 episodes, and so far so good. I'm really enjoying the series. The art style does take a little bit to get used to, in all honesty, but otherwise it's a fantastic show from what I've seen so far. And I'll show the inside there. So there's the 5 discs, 1 season per disc. And overall the story is quite engaging. I kind of struggled to get into the first episode, but the second episode definitely sold me on the concept of the series, and so far I've been very much enjoying it. Samurai Jack as a character with the sort of fish out of water kind of aesthetic, with him being an ancient samurai thrown forward into the far future by the main villain Aku. Overall, a very interesting premise where Samurai Jack, as he is now terming himself, is now stuck in the future trying to defeat Aku. And overall I just love the premise of the series, and I cannot wait to see how this progresses. So that is Samurai Jack. Since we only had the one Blu-ray this month, I thought I would feature a couple of books and video games I've picked up as of late. So first up we have a couple of Planet of the Apes novels. While researching the recent video I did looking into each of the theatrical movies for the Planet of the Apes, I came across the book series for the films. And with the more recent trilogy, from Rise of the Planet of the Apes through to War for the Planet of the Apes, I found these novels that kind of bridge the gaps between the 3 films. And so we have Firestorm, which is a prequel to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which from the summary really did pique my interest, and with some more Cobra content as well, my favourite ape character. And then we also have War for the Planet of the Apes Revelations, which I'm looking forward to checking out. Not read either of these as of yet, but I will hopefully get around to them relatively soon. And I would much appreciate it if you did check out the video I did on this franchise. Certainly spent a lot of time on that video. It's quite a lengthy one at that anyway, so if you do have the time, I would be most appreciative if you did check it out. I'll put a link to it on screen. But anyway, that is the Planet of the Apes novels. Continuing off of an update video I made quite a few months ago now, we have a couple of Star Wars video games, which I've really been delving into some of these old LucasArts games, and this was one of them that perked my interest, and that is Bounty Hunter for the Gamecube. Which this game, so far, so good. I am actually really enjoying it. It's your typical kind of shoot-'em-up game, but beyond that, the story is actually really well integrated into the prequel trilogy surrounding Jango Fett as a character. And I'm actually really intrigued by the storyline, with it obviously ending up with him earning the role as the clone template. And with this story, it's basically him trying to prove himself to Count Dooku that he will be worthy enough to obviously be used as the ultimate sort of soldier template for the clone army. And overall, some very interesting story and plot points throughout this. I've very much enjoyed what I have played of it so far. If you are interested in checking out this game, I believe there is a remastered version available on the PlayStation Store for the PS4 and maybe even the PS5, so by all means, if you are interested in this game, you don't have to have like an older console to play it. You can play it on the current PlayStation console, but with the GameCube version, this seemed to be the better version at the time out of the variations that were available. And I've had a Nintendo Wii for years and years and years, and this is the first GameCube game I've actually ran on it. And in order to do that, I needed a couple of extra accessories. I needed a memory card to actually store my saves on, so then I could actually play the game and obviously progress through it. And I also needed, of course, a Gamecube controller. And these are certainly not cheap. The card I actually managed to get for only £6, which I thought wasn't too bad. But a controller which was official Nintendo merch in good nick was certainly not the easiest thing to come across, since there are loads and loads of bootleg variations out there. I managed to score this for £15, which I'm okay with. I wasn't overly pleased at that price, but I ended up in a bidding war and finally got one. And so if you have a first edition variation of the Nintendo Wii, just had to change the lighting, since the white reflective surface with my bright lights wasn't working too well for the camera. It was kind of screwing up the coloration. But if you've got a first edition Nintendo Wii console, there's a couple of ports on the top where you can run a GameCube controller and the memory card there on the back, so you have a 2-in-1 console if that be the case. For the original Xbox, we have Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, which I have not played through as of yet. From what I've seen of the gameplay, it looks pretty good, surprisingly, so I'm looking forward to delving into this. It's basically just a video game variation of playing through the movie, with some extended stuff in there as well, so I'm sure this will be a very fun game either way, and I can't wait to check this out in the fall. So that is Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. And we also have the Force Unleashed games, which I showed off the first Force Unleashed game not too long ago, and I'm very much enjoying the story of this. It's such a shame, as I previously mentioned, that stories like this, such as Starkiller, are no longer canon to Star Wars, but from what I've played of this, it's a very fun game. I'm actually kind of surprised at how immersive the controls are for the Nintendo Wii for this, since literally using the Wii Remote, it's literally like using a proper lightsaber with how interactive it is, to my surprise, so that's a neat touch, obviously, to have that for the Wii, and from what I've read online as well, this seems to be the most sort of extended version of the game as well, compared to that of the PlayStation or Xbox versions, so that's a neat touch as well. And an overall story so far has been pretty interesting, so that is Force Unleashed. And I also recently grabbed Force Unleashed 2, which from what I have read doesn't seem to be as good, sadly. But still, either way, I cannot wait to check this out in the fall. So that is the Force Unleashed games. Let us move on to the DVDs. Moving on to the DVDs, first up we have The Princess Bride, which is a film that came out back in the late 80s, directed by Rob Reiner, and is a film that I had heard very good things about, just never checked out before. And this certainly wasn't what I was expecting. The way the story was told, I was expecting, I guess, your typical fairy tale, and as per the tagline, it's kind of denoting itself away from that kind of stereotyped storyline, and the way this is portrayed as a film, both in the characters that we have, especially some of the side characters, which I found very comedic, especially good old Andre the Giant as Fezzik. I loved his character in particular, but the way the story is told from the perspective of a grandfather played by good old Columbo himself, Peter Falk, telling the story of the Princess Bride to his kind of disinterested grandchild, and slowly over the course of telling this story, reading the book aloud to the grandchild, the kid becomes infatuated with the story, as do we as we watch the film. Overall, a great way to tell a story, and certainly wasn't what I was expecting, so if you haven't seen this film, I definitely recommend it. It was quite humorous and overall very enjoyable. Next up we have The Fugitive, starring Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. Overall, quite the thrill ride of a movie. I very much enjoyed this, with the character of Dr. Richard Kimball, played by Harrison Ford, having been accused of a murder he did not commit. And so when sentenced for supposedly killing his own wife, he manages to escape police custody and go on the run in order to clear his name, all while being pursued by the police detective played by Tommy Lee Jones. Definitely an interesting film to say the least. The premise is overall a great setup. In terms of the action for the film, there's loads of great iconic sequences, particularly the waterfall dam sequence, with some unexpectedly humorous dialogue which has been played out in other mediums such as The Simpsons off the top of my head.
I'm telling you, I didn't do anything.
I don't care.
And for the action scenes in particular, this film certainly did not let me down, and the ending was overall very interesting with the pharmaceutical side plot of corruption, which I very much enjoyed as a side story and definitely added a lot of depth to this film, and made for a very enjoyable action movie, so I definitely recommend checking out The Fugitive if you haven't already. Next up is 12 Monkeys, directed by Terry Gilliam of the Monty Python crew. This is a film that admittedly I did struggle to get into, but overall I did enjoy it for what it was. I found the premise to be the most interesting part, which seems all the more relevant at the moment in time anyway, with current world events taken into consideration, with the film set in the year 2035, where the majority of mankind has been wiped out by a virus. And so Bruce Willis's character is sent back in time to try and find out what was the cause of the virus, leading him to discover a supposed terrorist organization known as the 12 Monkeys, which supposedly did cause the virus. Overall, a great premise with a great plot twist towards the end, which I definitely was not expecting, and Brad Pitt's character certainly did keep my interest throughout, so overall I don't think this would necessarily be for everyone, but it's worth at least one watch. So if you're interested in the kind of time travel, post-apocalyptic kind of premise for a film, this would certainly suit you, I would imagine. So that is 12 Monkeys. Next up is Dogma, a Kevin Smith film, which I was actually pleasantly surprised by. The film in itself is kind of silly in its premise, sort of satirizing Catholicism, where two angels that have been banished from heaven by God are wandering the earth aimlessly and then find a loophole that will allow them back into heaven, thus proving God wrong, which would then ensue chaos amongst humanity. And so the rest of the film is basically a race against time to stop these two from re-entering heaven, which was humorous in itself, and the characters were certainly very interesting. I thought Chris Rock's character in particular as the 13th of Jesus' disciples, I thought that was quite humorous. And of course, Jay and Silent Bob made an appearance throughout the film as well. And I really enjoyed Alan Rickman's character as well. A very interesting character at that. And yeah, overall, a very funny film. I'm not the biggest fan of Kevin Smith, to be perfectly honest, but this definitely did grip me. And I found it to be very humorous. So that is Dogma. Next up is Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, a film that came out relatively recently in 2020, I believe, and was a great character-based film. It's a very moving story that I feel is kind of let down by the ending, but the characters really were the core strength of this film. And Autumn, portrayed by Sydney Flanagan, was a great lead role, a young girl who is struggling with an unwanted pregnancy, and with this she wants to have an abortion, but with her being still a teenager, she is still under her parents' care and struggles to actually have this done. And the lack of support around her, especially when she is still trying to keep this a secret, is very difficult to watch, especially when she is trying to terminate the pregnancy herself by overdosing on tablets, literally self-harming by punching herself in the stomach. Some very uncomfortable scenes which certainly were very moving and really allowed you to empathize with this character, where she runs away to New York with her friend, and together they try and get this abortion done properly. Definitely an interesting premise where, to be honest, I felt the story kind of fell apart towards the end. I was really gripped by this film, but the ending was a little bit lackluster in my opinion. Next up we have the Rocky movies, which I've shown this box set off in particular on the channel beforehand. And I just never actually watched these movies. I'm sure I've had this in the collection since something like maybe 2016. And again, I regret not watching these films much sooner. What an incredible journey for such a notable and inspirational character of that of Rocky Balboa. A very humble character. I love his humble beginnings in the first film, and seeing his journey and such progression of a single character with no real fault here or there at all. It's actually quite a consistent series. There's no real bad Rocky film in my opinion, and that's including the ones that came after the fifth film. And out of these five, I've enjoyed every single one. They all have their own strengths and weaknesses. If I had to choose a weaker film out of these movies, maybe the second or maybe even the third one, but overall I loved the humble beginnings in Rocky. The fourth film was for sure my favourite, with the character of Ivan Drago, portrayed by Dolph Lundgren. What an incredible character, quite a unit of a man for sure. And overall, what a very inspirational set of films. I've really enjoyed these movies. I did do, which I'm still filming to an extent now even, I documented my sort of reactions to these films, going through them, sort of doing like short commentaries and reviews over the course of watching them. So I don't know whether or not to edit those clips together into a video, or do something similar to my Planet of the Apes review, where I went through each individual film and just ranked them. I think the latter might be the easiest, but let me know your thoughts in the comments, of course, as always. So that is the first 5 Rocky films. And obviously I couldn't stop there, I had to get the other Rocky-related films. So we have the so-called final chapter, the sixth Rocky film, Rocky Balboa, where Rocky is a retired fighter and comes out of retirement for basically one last fight. And what an incredible fight it was. This was a really great journey for these characters. I loved the involvement of his son, who is now obviously much older in the premise of this film. And overall, a very heart-wrenching film at that, very sad in some instances, especially relating to Rocky's current life. I'll try to be as vague as possible for obvious reason, but the people closest to him certainly are the most affected by his actions to an extent, and then losing those closest to him is another thing in itself as well. So another inspirational film. I really enjoyed this for what it was. Again, no decline in quality, just overall a very well-rounded series of films. So that's Rocky Balboa, and then we have the Creed movies, the Rocky Legacy, with Michael B. Jordan taking up the role of Creed's son, Adonis. And this is a very similar premise to that of the first Rocky film, just again training someone to become a good enough fighter to take on a very rough competitor. And yeah, this is similar in that regard, but has its own quirks to the story. I love the love interest played by Tessa Thompson throughout this film. And overall, it was just another great movie to see, again, Sylvester Stallone back in the role of Rocky. And another humble film at that for him, training now this new, somewhat apprentice of the Creed family. So overall, a great movie that I very much enjoyed. And we also have Creed 2, which I did only pick up a few days ago, still sealed in the cellophane. And I'm looking forward to seeing this mainly because Ivan Drago as a character is actually involved to a heavy capacity from what I've read in this film, so I can't wait to see how that's going to be integrated into this story and utilizing that character. And I believe it's his son that's going to now be fighting Adonis in this movie, so yeah, I can't wait to see how that progresses. So that is Creed 2. Next up is an animated French film, and that is The Triplets of Belleville. What an incredibly strange movie. This is a subtitled French film which is for the majority unspoken. There's very little dialogue throughout this. The majority of the film relies on visual storytelling. And for the animation alone, it flows so beautifully, but it's so creepy in its character designs and everything above. But the story that's told, it was very rich in potential and certainly won me over. I really enjoyed what this managed to achieve. It's a very short film, but by all means, I would certainly recommend it. I'm not going to spoil the premise of it since the trailer for the movie gave absolutely nothing away. I had no idea what this movie was about going into it, and I'm glad it was that way. So by all means, if you're interested in very bizarre, creepy-looking animations, I definitely recommend this. Funnily enough, the full movie is available on YouTube, so if you look at the movie title, you should be able to find it on there. It's about an hour and 20 minutes long, and a film I would definitely recommend checking out if you're a fan of creepy animations. So that is The Triplets of Belleville. Next up, we have the Clint Eastwood collection box set featuring several Western movies. I have not seen any of these as of yet, but these will likely end up featuring in a future update video, I would imagine. 4 films included here. We have A Fistful of Dollars for a few dollars more, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, of course, and Hang 'em High, which I've not seen these movies all the way through. I've seen various clips of them online, and it's a film set that I was interested in picking up. So, like I say, these will likely feature in a future update video, and I'm looking forward to checking them out. So that is the Clint Eastwood collection. Next up, we have another offering from my good friend Tim, aka Dr. Rat, and that is the Sons of Kong DVD box set featuring 10 ape-related movies, which I believe he got a couple of copies of this DVD set dirt cheap from America when he was buying some stuff he was after, and so he very kindly sent a copy of this over to myself, my friend Dean, aka The Cryptic Cinema, and my friend Arvid, aka Junkmaster Free. And yeah, I'm very grateful to have this in the collection. It's a very bizarre set of films, to say the least. It includes 10 movies, of which I've only watched one of so far. They're fairly short, about an hour each in length anyway. The one I watched was the first one, and that is The Apes, starring Boris Karloff. A very strange movie about a doctor that is driven insane by his need to cure paralysis, with a killer ape supposedly on the loose as well. Very bizarre premise. We also have Brooklyn Gorilla, The Ape Man, Bride of the Gorilla, The Savage Girl, The White Gorilla, Law of the Jungle, White Pongo, and Mabonga, which, yeah, very strange set of films to say the least, and this box set is actually kind of nifty. I've just changed the angle to actually show this in full, but there's a quirky design to this box set where it actually has this little pop-out feature. So overall, a nifty little DVD set. So that's the Sons of Kong DVD box set. With yet another continuation from one of my previous update videos, we have some more Walking With content. With the Ballad of Big Al, the Walking with Dinosaurs special. Sadly, I've not watched this as of yet, but I believe it is just literally another sort of spin-off and kind of a departure away from the Walking with Dinosaurs series, specifically looking at just the Allosaurus. And this is essentially just 2 episodes looking at the Allosaurus with reference to a phenomenal discovery of a near-complete skeleton of the Allosaurus itself. And I cannot wait to delve into this. I'm very much looking forward to checking this out at some point. So that is the Ballad of Big Al. And then we also have, which I think completes the Walking With collection for myself now. Just going back to the ones that I featured in my last update video, aside from the main kind of series. We have Walking with Cavemen, the complete series, which was actually kind of difficult to get hold of on DVD. I couldn't find it to stream anywhere either, which is kind of a shame. But this is, I believe, up to about 2 hours worth of content. I don't know how many episodes, likely 3 or 4 I would imagine. And it will likely follow a similar structure to that of what I would imagine to be something close to the one Walking with Beasts episode, specifically looking at hominids. And yeah, overall, very interesting stuff. I can't wait yet again to delve into this one, so that is Walking with Cavemen. Next up, we have some animation-related pickups, beginning with the Invader Zim Special Features DVD, which this is surprisingly quite a rare find. The original way to obtain this was through the complete series box set, which was shaped like Zim's house, which understandably is quite a pricey DVD box set to go for. And so to find this on its own on eBay as an individual listing was a very lucky find. And I'm really glad to have this in the collection, since it's not only a rare DVD set, but it has some really great features included. The main reason I picked this up was for the audio from the unfinished episodes. If you're familiar with Invader Zim as a show, it's a Nickelodeon cartoon that was sadly cancelled way before its time. And so the unfinished episodes that were scrapped, they never actually entered animation production, but the audio was completed for them, so that's why they're included on here as an extra inclusion. And I'm currently working on a project relating to Invader Zim, so that will definitely come in handy. And yeah, overall a great find for sure. I love the cover art on this as well, with Invader Scooge having conquered the planet of the slaughtering rat people, a great throwaway joke from the first episode of the show.
You will be assigned to Blorch, home of the slaughtering rat people. Thank you.
Next up, we have the complete series of Drawn Together, a Comedy Central show from the early 2000s, and another show that was sadly cancelled prematurely yet again. This show lasted for only 3 seasons and concluded with a movie in 2010. And is a very interesting premise for a show, with this basically spoofing that of a reality TV show with cartoon characters taken from different genres of animation and just throwing them together and seeing what character chemistry we have with these characters. Overall, a great premise with some very dark, twisted humor throughout. It's very crude. I would compare this to the likes of, say, Family Guy, if you are interested in that kind of comedy style. Some very interesting episodes. I actually discovered this show on YouTube many years ago, where somebody actually uploaded some full episodes of the series. And I began watching the show in order, and then they suddenly just got removed for copyright reasons, and I never revisited the show again. But I found this in my Amazon recommendations, and I picked up this box set for £20 on Amazon, shipped from the United States. But Amazon decided it would be a genius idea to send this in a tiny jiffy bag envelope with no padding or anything like that, so the original case, which is this one, just got completely smashed in transit. Not ideal at all, of course, and I dropped them a quick message on their live chat, and to my surprise, they just refunded the whole order, so I certainly can't floor Amazon's customer service. And so I just rebought a new case for this, and so essentially to get it for the price of a DVD case, I'm certainly not complaining, and I'm glad to have this in my collection. So that is Drawn Together, the complete series. Speaking of Family Guy, funnily enough, I did end up picking up the Season 19 DVD set for the show, which I haven't started this as of yet. I think I only made it halfway through Season 18 anyway, so I do have a lot of catching up to do with Family Guy. I've not watched the show in a very long time. And the premise for the episode featured on the cover. I saw a couple of clips of this on YouTube and it did look pretty funny, and I managed to get this DVD set for only $7.99 on Amazon. It randomly just dropped in price from, I think, 15 down to about 12 and then to £8, so I just picked it up while I could. And yeah, another addition to the collection. I'll likely do a review of this at some point in the near future, so that is Season 19 of Family Guy. Next up we have both Season 2 and Season 3 of Robot Chicken, the stop-motion animated series by Seth Green. A great series, something I'm very fond of, with the episodes being so short, and loads of great hilarious pop culture related references and parodies and moments throughout. And these episodes were overall very enjoyable. We have 20 on Season 2 and an additional 20 there on Season 3. So yeah, overall some great inclusions there for the collection. Rounding off this update video, we have the first few seasons of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, a fantastic American sitcom which I have been very much investing a lot of my time into. I bought Season 1 in one of my last update videos, and when I went to go and buy Season 2, annoyingly you had to buy Season 1 again, which I didn't realise sadly, so I had to double dip on that one, so I'll just get rid of the Season 1 separate DVD at some point soon. But yeah, the show in itself, absolutely fantastic, with the second season that introduced the character of Frank Reynolds, played by Danny DeVito, and I love how they're really pushing the with Danny DeVito kind of thing, which is quite amusing. But he does add a lot to the show, and to be honest, I would find it very difficult to go back to those first few episodes, knowing that he wasn't a main part of the series, so he definitely is a huge strength to the show. So that is Seasons 1 and 2, we also have Season 3, then we have Season 4, Season 5, and Season 6, which I got relatively recently. And these DVDs I got super cheap over both eBay and the American Amazon for about $5 a piece, plus shipping, which was surprisingly, again, very cheap. So yeah, certainly onto a winner with these being extended episodes and uncensored episodes as well, which is always good. So that is the first 6 seasons of It's Always Sunny. And finally, for this update video, we have the remaining seasons of Wentworth, which I showed off the first 4 seasons in my last update video, and I did recently review in full Season 1 of the show. And so here we are with the remainder of the series, with Season 5 onwards, taking quite the different shift in tone, especially since Danielle Cormack, the main actress for the series, actually left the show, making this more of an ensemble series, giving its focus very equally across the various characters we have been introduced to, with the overarching story in this season with plotting revenge on the character of Joan Ferguson, the main villain from Season 2 onwards, and a primary focus as well on the character of Ali Novak, a very well-written character for this season in particular. So that's Season 5. Season 6 I very much enjoyed, with some new characters introduced to us once again with this season, and this had a great plot twist ending, which I very much enjoyed, again involving Ferguson. And then Season 7 definitely did live up to the hype in my honest opinion, since the last couple of episodes were unbelievable in terms of the tension that they fulfilled. Very much enjoyed this season, although it was slightly shorter than I was expecting, and that leads us to Season 8, which I grabbed in my recent Christmas haul video. I binged watched this over the holidays, and I thought this season was very good for its overarching story, but some of the newer characters, Lou Kelly and Reb, were just shite. Really pissed me off. I didn't take to their story at all. But otherwise, the other characters that were fleshed out previously, I very much enjoyed. And the direction for this series, for the final season coming out relatively soon, I'm intrigued to see where this will be going to conclude the show. So that's going to do it for my Blu-ray and DVD update for February 2021. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave me a like down below. Let me know in the comments, is there anything in this update video you would like to see a review of? Like I mentioned at the start of this update video, by all means, if you have any questions or anything of the sort for the upcoming 10-year anniversary video I'm working on, then by all means drop those in the comments as well. And for more videos, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, DVD Review Studios.
Are you threatening me?